Arbojos.
Hello, welcome back to another episode of D54. My name is Amit, and I just watched Turbo, the latest Mammootty movie. Now, if you guys are new to the channel, I review Malayalam movies, I talk about Malayalam movies, I react to Malayalam trailers, everything is Malayalam on this channel. There's nothing outside the Malayalam film industry. That is the only rule on this channel. So if you like that kind of content, if you like Malayalam cinema, then make sure to subscribe, because I know you'll like the kind of stuff we do here. But getting on to this movie, guys, I watched the latest Mammootty movie. I was very excited to see the latest Mammootty movie. And if you are thinking whether I know anything about Mammootty or not, well, I know more. I've covered more Mammootty movies on my channel than any other actor so far. So he is a big presence on this channel. We've covered his old movies, we've covered his new movies. But one thing I've not covered as of yet is actually Mammootty in a more comedic role. Mammootty in a more comedic role, and also Mammootty really in an action role. Like, I've seen bits and pieces of his roles in action, but to be honest, I've not really seen him put on like an action clinic like he did in this movie. This was an out and out blockbuster in terms of his action. It is, action comedy, and emphasis on the action there. And I'll be getting into that. The way I like to break down movies, guys, is I like to actually look at sort of I like to break them out into sections, so I'll be doing that here. Interesting fact, this is actually the 12th Malayalam movie that I have seen in cinema. So very exciting. I'm putting them all on the screen now for you to take a look and see which ones you might like, and you can actually check out my reviews on my channel. But yeah, let me get into this, guys. Let me break this movie down like I always do. Expectations coming in. I was really, confounded by the approach that the marketing team had for this movie, because I had heard about this movie, I feel like quite a while ago. I remember hearing about it. I remember hearing news that Mammootty is doing this really cool movie. He's going to do it alongside Midhun Manuel Thomas. Very, very exciting. I'm a big fan of Midhun Manuel Thomas. I haven't covered too many of his movies. I have seen Anjana Patira, which was from a while ago, and I have seen the comedy movie Adu, which I have not actually got around to actually covering yet. I have seen some of his recent work as well. Now, I didn't actually get a chance to watch Osla. In fact, I didn't hear too many good things about it, so it's kind of been on the backlog for me. But I did watch Garudan, which he wasn't the director of that movie. He was a writer for that movie, the same way he's a writer for this movie. But that movie is starring Suresh Gopi. So I've not actually seen that many of his direction. I've seen more of his movies he's written for. But so I was pretty excited to see that. Great combination. Now I saw the poster, the very popular poster that's been displayed all around. That popular one with Mammootty coming out of that very cool looking Jeep. I saw that a while ago, but after that it was just dead silent on this movie. To be honest, I didn't hear much at all, which was surprising to me because it's a Mammootty movie for one, so we at least see some promotional material. But this movie, someone explained this to me, this movie had less promotion than a movie like Katul the Core or a movie like Brahma Yugam. How is that possible? I don't understand. This movie is like a mass masala kind of movie that's made for the masses, that's made for a cinematic experience, that's made for people to go in and have a good time. The other movies I mentioned, Nanpakul Niratu Mayakam, I think, had even more promotional material than this movie did. This movie had one trailer 10 days before the release, and that was it. So I don't know if something happened with the planning or something happened with maybe the release of it, or I don't know what happened, but I was so confused by the fact that this movie did so little in terms of its promotion. No promotional song, no teaser. I think I've seen a press conference or two, but those are not as big a deal as sort of your, the songs are and things like that. Look, you see songs like what they had for Avesham recently, and that song is still trending, it seems like, the Jada song. So I don't know what the deal was with this movie and the fact that it's just wasn't promoted so well, but maybe there's some news that you guys can tell me. So leave a comment in the comment section if you know anything more about that. I was very surprised by that, but I will say, look, if you look at my channel, look through it. If you're new here, look through the channel and you'll see what kind of movies I actually do like. I'm not actually the biggest fan of mass masala kind of movies. I like movies that are more thought pieces in general, more character pieces, or really, and that's what Malayalam movie does so well. And that's why myself and my co-hosts, we really sort of like that side of things, and we've explored a lot of those kind of movies. This is probably, I don't know, maybe the second mass masala kind of movie I've covered. The first one was King of Kotha with Mammootty's son, Dulquer. But so I'm not a huge fan of the mass masala genre. You know, that's sort of the reason why I like Malayalam movies, because they don't focus so much on that. They are more focused on sort of the writing. But in saying that, I did come in thinking that this would be a mass masala movie because of some of the scenes that I had seen from the movie, from the trailer, the style of it, even the limited material I have. It sort of gave me a vibe that this is more going to be a mass masala kind of movie, something made for the masses. I was hoping it wasn't going to be. I was hoping there'd be a bit more story and maybe character work in spite of that. But, you know, I came in prepared knowing that I was going to be coming in hopefully for a good time. And I was really excited by the prospect of seeing Mammootty in an action comedy, because for me, that's something I've not seen. I know there's movies like Raja Manikam and that movie, Something the Saint. I forget the full name for that movie, but there are a couple of movies that are suggested to me from Mammootty's catalogue, which are a bit more comedic in nature. They are going to be covered on this channel. It's just about me getting the people in place and scheduling it to actually do a deep dive for those movies. But they are sort of movies that I'm looking forward to watching. But for me, this was the first time I'd seen Mammootty in a comedic role. I would say the comedic role lasted for about 20 minutes, because after 20-30 minutes, the comedy kind of starts to go away. And I'll talk about that a little bit more as I go on to sort of some of the more storyline points and sort of the flow of the movie as well. So I was really excited in seeing Mammootty play that kind of role. So that's what I was really there for. I really wanted to see that. And look, the action sequences, as I'm going to talk about more very soon, were fantastic. So I was really happy to see that from Mammootty. So there were kind of some of the, I guess, expectations I had coming in. They weren't super high. They were like, okay, this looks like fun. Let me go into the cinema and see that, and let's see how we go. Performances. Okay, so obviously, Mammootty. Let's start with Mammootty. Exceptional. Like, there is I don't think I can really even fault Mammootty in this movie for what he did. He really brought it. He just showed how versatile he is. And I'm glad he did a movie like this at this time, because as of late, man, it has been such a serious stretch for Mammootty. Nanpakul Niratu Mayakam, Rorschach, Kanuru Squad, Katul the Core, Brahma Yugam. If I can't remember anything else I've missed as of late. But a lot of the movies that he's done are Puru, which I've not seen yet, but also meant to be a very serious movie. All the movies he's done as of late are just super serious, man. Like, it just seems like he's focusing so much on the dramatic side of things that it's been a while since I've seen him do anything. Like, I personally have not even seen him play like a fun role. I don't think I've even seen him play a fun role, to be completely honest, from the catalogue of movies I've seen. So I was really excited to see him sort of do that, and he really had a lot of fun in this movie from both sides. I loved the start of the movie with him playing into the comedy. I actually really enjoyed that. I didn't know what I would sort of see coming in, because he doesn't even, in his other movies from what I've seen, and again, it's based on my catalogue, you know, he doesn't really integrate comedy much into his more dramatic roles. If he does a dramatic role, it is 100% dramatic, you know, from what I've seen. Whereas other actors I've seen do kind of blend at least some of humor into their movies. But Mammootty seems to be very much focused on the drama, and he does it so well, and very much focused on the character work. He can get into character unbelievably well. It's one of his biggest strengths. But this movie, it was cool to just see him just honestly ham it up at times. Like, my goodness, like the first 20 minutes, the confusion that they were having and some of the comedic parts they were having at the start, I absolutely loved it. I wish I'd honestly seen more of it, because it really kind of disappears as I sort of mentioned, but it sort of blends into his action role, which is also exceptional. I'll be completely honest, guys. Mammootty, he's 72 years old, which is unbelievable. And the fact that he is doing what he's doing at this age is pretty sensational, to be honest. I was really impressed by him and what he did in this movie. I was somebody that was a little bit skeptical in terms of Mammootty's sort of action, because someone that's 72, I don't know what my expectations are for someone that's 72 and action sequences. Okay, I'm a big fan of the actor Liam Neeson from Hollywood. I'm a huge fan of Liam Neeson. Liam Neeson puts out a movie, I'll watch it no matter what. But I know Liam Neeson is not going to do the stuff that he did back in the day. So I'm sure Mammootty was a bigger action star. Maybe back in the day, he might have done more action sequences. But for him to do what he was doing like this, it impressed me so much, because I have seen movies like, Kangaroo Squad or Rorschach, where they were probably had some action sequences, but they were really, I could tell, like, this is an old man that's trying to play an action sequence. For me personally, look, you might disagree, but when people are running at you and you're just fending them off, for the few scenes you have, then that tells me that, look, you're probably not in the best shape to be doing action sequences, and that's fine. He's 72, for Christ's sake. I shouldn't be expecting somebody to be, freaking doing backflips and things like that at this stage of their career. But in this movie, he was exceptional. Like, some of the athleticism that he showed, sort of some of the stunt work that he did was really good, and the cinematography really blended well. The fight and action cinematography for this movie was pretty good. It was up there. I was a bit afraid, were they going to have too many quick cuts? Was it not going to be, giving us the wide angle, the wide sort of scenes that we can see everything play out? But no, it didn't do that at all. It actually really let Mammootty shine in sort of different spaces. The action was different in different points. So it was fantastic. I have nothing to fault. Mammootty really carried this movie on his broad shoulders. By far the best performance, and by far really the thing that kept me engaged and makes me remember this movie in a good way, to be honest. Because aside from that, look, yeah, I'm going to get into it now, but I didn't really. There was parts of this movie which I felt like could have been much better. Let me get into it. Mammootty was great. You guys know it. There's nothing more to really say there. Exceptional. If you love Mammootty and you like what he does, I'm sure you'll love this movie. If you're a Mammootty fan, you are going to fall in love with this movie because he's bringing something a little bit different, which is great. Aside from that, guys, the performances I felt were a little bit lackluster. Rajbi Shetty was the other big name in this movie. I've not seen any Rajbi Shetty movies. I've been told there are a couple good movies. I take that back. I have seen one Rajbi Shetty movie, and he's actually like a comedian in that movie. It's the most ridiculous movie. If you guys haven't seen it, it's called The Story of an Egg. I have seen that movie a long time ago. He's a Kannada actor. Now, I have some connections to the Kannada film industry in my life, so I have seen some Kannada movies. But essentially, like, he was a comedian in that movie, and he was really good in that movie. But aside from that, I've not seen too much of him, so I don't know what he's like as a more serious actor, as a more, I know he's done horror movies, and I know he's done like more dramatic movies, and he's even done a gangster movie, which I keep hearing really good things about, which I have to check out. But I've not seen much of him, so I was pretty excited to see what he was going to bring. A big actor from the Kannada industry coming into the Malayalam industry is a big deal because, it's not like if the Malayalam industry is able to attract these stars from other industries, it's fantastic. Now, his screen presence was fantastic. Like, the way they showed him off in some of the scenes was really good. I think for what he was given, he was just fantastic. Like, in terms of his acting and what he brought, personally, I thought he was great. How the movie utilized him, for me, was really disappointing because I feel like you had the potential to create a really good villain. He's obviously got great acting chops. He looks like a villain. Like, just look look at him. He looks like somebody that, and it's not even just the way he looks, like, it's the presence he brings, like the feeling you get when you look at him with his demeanor, with his smile, with his smirk. His facial expressions were great, but if you want to talk about generic, this is generic. They pull out a bad guy who has the big bad don of the, the city, who wants to take over and have power over everybody. He has 100 minions under him. He's unstoppable in terms of, his influence and power. Great. It did a great job of telling us that over and over again. I don't know why they didn't give Rajbi Shetty more of sort of a fight sequence, more of sort of something to show us how strong and menacing he is, and just relied on exposition over and over and over again. It really, I guess, made him less of a credible threat to me. If he was somebody if they even had one scene or multiple scenes of him actually just going ham and actually, taking down a few people and showing his strength, whether it was a flashback to the past or something in recent times where he actually went in and he didn't ask somebody to do it for him. He saw how incompetent his staff was and he had to go in and take some action and actually take some people down. Then you have contrast. You have something where you're seeing one person in Mammootty who's basically a superhero. He's, and that's fine. Like, I'm not going to criticize this movie for that. It's what it is. It booked itself as that. He's a superhero. He can take down 100 guys at once. It doesn't matter. Police station, he's guy that drives a jeep around, but trained police officers have no chance against him. Goons have no chance against him. Fine. I can accept all that. I don't have any issues with that at all. But if you're going to balance out on the other side with Rajbi Shetty, why not put him in a situation where he's also just as bad, so that when you build up to the final fight sequence, it's not like 3 minutes or whatever it was. Like, that fight sequence at the end, they built up that climax and it just felt like it ended. So unfortunately, as much as I liked Rajbi's performance, I feel like the writing behind him was not strong enough to really push him forward and make him more menacing. If it was, oh my God, this movie could have been exceptional. If it was just that, Other characters in this, look, I love to see Bindu Panicker. I actually didn't recognize her, and I couldn't tell where I'd seen her before for most of this movie until about 3/4 of the way. I realized she's the mum from Rorschach, and my God, like, I mean, I think, did she win the award? I think she might have won the award for her role in that, and if she didn't, then she was robbed of it because she was so fantastic in that. So seeing her in this alongside Mammootty was fantastic because they obviously have great chemistry, and her playing the mum was really good. I felt again for what she was given, fantastic. Now the story behind her relationship with Mammootty Turbo Jose was to me not really done that well. Again, they had good chemistry and they had good banter, and I love that dynamic about him being the big, Mammootty being the big bad guy who can take down anybody, but he's scared of his mum. Okay, he's a mama's boy. Cool, they actually did that pretty well. I enjoyed the banter, and for comedy, I think it worked really well. There was one scene where they're telling about the history and why Mammootty is so loyal to his mum and he has not married and things like that. They really, again, relied on exposition. Like, I would have loved that to be shown more, even subtly, like, even small scenes, small flashbacks, something or the other that they could have done. I'll give an example from what I really liked from a movie that I've seen recently in Avesham, right? That movie, again, was an out-and-out comedy entertainer. It was all that, but they just did things where instead of telling you about Fahad Fasil's character in that movie, Ranga, him going through trauma, they actually have scenes of him when he's younger and what he had to endure. And that leaves such a big impact on you and really makes you feel like, okay, despite the fact that this is a comedy, it takes these moments out to really show us, drama and what this guy's actually gone through. Not tell us. Again, this movie told us about why, the issue between, Mammootty's childhood and why he's so loyal to his mum. I wish it had just, shown us more. So again, it's consistent with the same issue that I had with the villain. It just exposition was over the top. The other character who I think was the main character in this movie was the main actress, played, I think her name was Induleka. Now, she was there. I've seen her before, and I actually really liked her in the movie. I've seen her before. The actress is Anjana, Jayaprakash. Really talented actress. I really liked her in the movie she did with Fahad Fasil once again in Pachuvam Atbuta Vilakam. I thought that was a lovely movie, and her chemistry with Fahad Fasil was really good, and her performance was really good in that movie too. In this movie, I felt like a lot of the plot and narrative was centered around her, especially in the first half, and it really, in the second half, she just became a device. She became a device to be captured. She became a device to be, tortured. She became a device to be chased after. So they really let the story down on her side. At that side of things, again, this movie, yes, I know people like to make the argument this is not story based, it's more for entertainment and that factor. I can excuse that, but you build up the story in the first half. You started it and then you sort of let it go of it really in some ways, I feel. And I feel like she had more potential for what she could have done rather than just be around as another sort of woman that's being attacked. So a little bit unfortunate on that. Mammootty was just like up here. Everyone else I feel was just below. So it really was a Mammootty vehicle. That's why I say if you like Mammootty and you really love Mammootty, you'll love this movie because you're watching it for Mammootty, and he has more screen time than anybody else in this movie, and honestly deservingly so because they put some effort into what he was doing. So that was some of the criticisms I have of sort of some of the performances, but again, Mammootty, exceptional. He lifts it up so much that you might even make a case, if you enjoy this movie a lot, you can forgive all the rest of things because you just love Mammootty's performance so much. Storyline and plot. Okay, look, this movie, I know. I've said it again and again. It's not based on the storyline and plot. The story is not the main thing. So I'm not going to be super critical about that because it's built itself up in terms of being more of an entertainment movie rather than one that's driven by plot or storyline or character even. It's really just there for the, entertainment. It's an entertaining movie. And look, in that way it is, I feel. The only thing that I have to criticize around this area, I would say, is probably around the pacing of the movie. I feel the second half of the first half, so maybe the second act leading into the intermission and a little bit after that, felt like a little bit dragged down. And that's because of some of the points I mentioned before. They tried to build up a lot of storylines here. I honestly had a very hard time investing in any of these storylines. There's multiple things happening here. There's a relationship between Indu and this character, Jerry, who's kind of like he's kind of an in-between character because he wants to do some things good, but he's kind of portrayed as kind of a real, like bad guy. I didn't like him like him at all. Like when he first makes his entrance, he tells himself that, I guess, he's Mammootty and him have this father-son kind of uncle relationship going on. But he talks badly of Mammootty behind his back. He sort of dismisses him and, calls him names. And then he treats basically Indu really badly as well by standing her up, and then comes back begging, looked pretty weak at that time. So I wasn't digging this relationship at all. And they spent quite a bit of time on that. They played some comedy parts to it with the whole, Indu Bumble, Imbu Tinder, all that thing. Okay, that I guess it was played for comedy, but it made, I guess, the character really weak in some ways because, she didn't stand up for herself much at all. Like I think she said something like, I can forgive you for not standing up for me. I can forgive you for not trying to find me after, but, you have all these names in your catalog and that's why I'm mad. You should be mad for all three reasons, to be honest. So that felt like that was a little bit, like I didn't enjoy that too much. And time was spent on this, which is why I'm sort of saying I felt like it was dragging a bit. Other than that, the whole politics and the complex fraud scheme and things like that, it was just a way for them to tell us there's a big bad guy who's making a lot of money and wants to take over the city. Didn't get too much for it, to be honest. It was not something that I was really that interested in, and I feel like they didn't do that good a job of really spending that much time on that, but it wasn't a story piece, so therefore you shouldn't. I kind of feel like they should have just gone all in on the action in this movie and made it even more dynamic. They could have potentially added another character or two who just more for action, or maybe let Rajbi Shetty actually do more sequences where it's not Mammootty being the main action star, but maybe let Rajbi Shetty have a couple action sequences for him from his side as well. So we get that contrast, as I was saying before. But instead, it sort of decided to go down this path of, giving us some complex story, which I personally I just was not invested in it. I couldn't really care about the fact, like, it's pretty simple. He's a bad guy. And he has a lot of power, and he has a lot of people under him. That's all. He's like Kingpin from Daredevil, if you basically know that reference. He's essentially like that. It feels like he has a city basically in his palm. Other thing that I thought was a little bit that I struggled with was essentially I did like the comedy from Mammootty and I like the action, and I know that Midhun Manuel Thomas can do them both really well, but it really feels like a comedy action rather than action comedy. They don't really come together that well. There's a few parts in the second half which have some references, some small parts, which are like one-liners, which are funny, I think. A few moments, there's this whole thing where I think Mammootty's mother is in love with like Tony Stark, and she's not in love with, sorry, she's a big fan of the Avengers. So she just follows that and she cries, and they don't know why she's crying, and it's because of a movie despite the tense circumstances. So they sort of undercut some of the action with some of the comedy, but it works sometimes, it didn't work sometimes, but the comedy at the start definitely worked. I feel the comedy, when it's just an out and out comedy and Mammootty being a comedian, I feel it worked, and the action works by itself. The blending of the two, I didn't feel gelled too well personally. So that's sort of where I feel like a little bit of it. The focus wasn't as strong because of that, and that kind of put me off a little bit in terms of the plot and narrative. Final thoughts. Overall, this is a fun movie. I think it's a good movie. Despite the fact I did have some criticisms of the movie, overall, I came out of the cinema really enjoying it. There were parts that I felt dragged down, and it could have been better, so I am a little bit critical on that side of things, but did I come out of the cinema enjoying this movie? Yes, I did. Would I recommend you to watch it? Yes, I would, because it is a good cinematic experience. The things I didn't mention, cinematography is really good. Music is loud. It's really loud. Maybe it's my cinema that I watched it in, but it was a loud movie, and it was continuous with a lot of dubstep, a lot of fast-paced music that was there. So that was also there. If you enjoy that kind of stuff, then yeah, I'm sure you like this movie. Overall, look, it's probably from the catalog of Mammootty movies that I have seen, overall, it's probably a bit lower than the ones I've seen as of late. But in terms of Mammootty's performance by himself, it's almost as high, if not higher, to be honest, because I really was wanting to see him do some of the things he did in this movie, and he did it. So for me personally, as a Mammootty fan and following some of his catalog, I'm happy he did this because it gives me a sort of fresh perspective of what he's done. And I guess if he's going to go back to dramatic roles, that's fine. I'm happy he had this change of pace to do this. But hey, these are my thoughts. I hope you guys enjoyed it. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you did enjoy it, then please let me know what you thought about this movie. I would love to converse with you guys. Yeah, let me know what you think. Let me know if I'm wrong. And if I'm wrong, let me know how wrong I am. Tell me all the things I'm wrong about. But if you agree with me, let me know. I always look forward to talking to you guys in the comment section. And thank you once again. And if you did make it this far, guys, I really appreciate you. Thank you for taking the time to watch my review, to take out the time to listen to me all the way through. My reviews are very much in detail. I'd like to go into as much as I can because it's a way of me showing how much I appreciate and respect the filmmakers and everyone involved in the craft of making movies by doing this. So thank you once again, and I'll catch you in the next one.